If you've ever led a presentation and you left with a whole lot of, that was amazing, or people lined up wanting to take pictures with you but not sign contracts with you, the issue is not your expertise. It's the blind spot that's in your teaching style. And these aren't just vibes. This is science. We took two models, DISC and Kolb, behavior and learning, and we put them together and 4 different teaching archetypes emerged. And I bet you I know which one yours is. Today, I'm gonna highlight your power moves, give you your pitfalls, and give you one action that you can apply this week that will increase conversions and retention. Stay with me because the last 60 seconds are the difference between applause and clients. By the way, I'm Daryl Williams Jr., and for over a decade, I've been helping people win through teaching. Not only am I an award-winning educator and speaker, but I'm also the founder of Monetize Your Expertise, where I help other business owners increase income and impact by mastering the art and science of teaching. Let's do it. So this framework comes from decades long of deep research. The DISC assessment reveals our natural behavioral tendencies and the way we prefer to interact with people. I simply like to call it the way that you naturally show up. Kolb's learning cycle highlights 4 learning styles based on how people prefer to receive and process information. I simply like to call it the way people want to be taught. Watch this, overlay them and boom, you got the way that you naturally show up and the way that people prefer to be taught. That's how we landed on the 4 expertpreneur teaching archetypes. You got the producer, the performer, the peacemaker, and the professor. Not random labels, but proven patterns. And I promise, this is something that is research-backed, not just something I pulled out the top of my head. So each style has power moves and each style has pitfalls. My job is to reveal them to you so that you can leverage the powerfalls and close the gaps in your pitfalls. So as I walk through this, I want you to ask yourself the question often, is he talking about me? Is this me? But just to be sure, you can actually take the quiz linked in the description below that is gonna identify for sure your teaching archetype and give you a custom strategy to improve client outcomes. We'll get to those fixes in a minute, but first, let me explain the archetypes. Style 1 is the producer. Producers thrive on clarity and structure. You make learning repeatable. People often say things like, I love how organized that was, or can I get that checklist, or can you show me that framework one more time? See, you're kind of like the GPS. People can stick with you and follow step by step to get to their desired destination. The good news, bad news is sometimes your pitfall is over-engineering and giving too many frameworks and strategies. And similar to a GPS, I can follow step by step when I'm with you, but then when I don't have you turned on, I don't even know how to get there, you know? I need you to walk through the frameworks with me, and once you're not there, I'm lost. But I'll show you how to make it stick in just one move right after I explain the rest of the archetypes. Style number 2 is their performer. Now performers, they move the room with style and energy and charisma, with humor and storytelling. You hear things like, that was so inspiring, or you're such a natural, and your energy just fills the room. Or on socials, you stop the scroll. However, the danger here is fireworks without firewood. What do I mean by that? July 4th this year, I was with my family and my children. They are 6 and 3, and my wife. We went to Tennessee, we had a great time, and the children wanted to do something fun and interesting, and I, being dad, said I have to do something that's gonna be exciting and fun and that they're always going to remember. So for the first time in my life, I bought fireworks and decided that we were gonna set them off. So we gathered around safely, put the fireworks in the ground, lit them, and let them go off in the sky. And you should have seen the fireworks. They were huge, they were loud. People from down the block were watching and celebrating and cheering and taking pictures and videos. And for about 12 minutes, we had an amazing time. And it's funny because I remember my son, he's 3, and when it was all said and done, I sat back and just said, ah. And he looked at me and he said, that's it? And I looked at him and said, that's it. And he said, what now? And I said, that was bedtime. And we went inside and went to sleep. I mean, it was like 9 o'clock. It's their bedtime anyway, right? But watch what happened. The experience was fun and exhilarating and exciting, but it was only brief and for a moment. And although my children had a good time, it left them wondering, okay, now what? What's next? So yes, it was hype and exciting, but the feeling faded fast. And the same can be said about those who are performer style teachers. The experience can be fun and exciting, but it's fleeting and it fades fast. But don't go anywhere. I've got your plug and play fix right after we talk about style 3, the peacemakers. And I hope so far you are hearing yourself in some of these descriptions. Remember, just to be sure, you can click the link in the description after you finish watching the video, and it'll guarantee you what type of archetype you are through taking the quiz. But if you're a peacemaker, you create safety and trust. And oftentimes you'll hear attendees or clients say things like, I've never felt so supported, or I didn't feel judged, or it was so easy to ask questions. You build rooms that people stay in. Maybe you're a community leader, but people just want to be around you and they want to talk to you and ask you questions. But here's the trap. Often there's comfort without challenge. See, you don't push them to do uncomfortable things, so growth doesn't happen. One reason why your community is not growing with referrals is because your clients are not growing internally. I tried to make it rhyme. But they talk about how nice you are and how cool it is to be in your program, but because they aren't challenged to grow, when someone asks them what they learned or if it's worth the investment, they don't have the results to show them that is worth working with you. So stay with me. I'll show you how to fix that in just one action. But first, we've got to talk about one of the most common archetypes, style for the professor. You just know it all, huh? Professors bring rigor and receipts. People say things like, I finally understand why that works, or, ooh, that's deep, or you know your stuff. You bring credibility. There's no doubt that you're the expert. But it's the professor archetype that made me coin this phrase. Your expertise makes you qualified, but the way you teach is how you monetize. Because here's the thing, just because you are the target doesn't mean that you are the teacher. You're the target. People say, I want to be like you. I want to do the things that you're doing. I want to know the things that you know. But if they don't feel like they can learn from you, they're not going to pay you to teach them how to do it. The good news is that was the last style. And now I get to show you how to close these loops. But watch this. Can you see and feel how these are not just random archetypes? They are the overlap of how you naturally show up and how they prefer to learn. Did you see yourself in any of those archetypes? Am I in the ballpark? One of my friends likes to ask that question. Am I in the ballpark? Did I say something that you resonated with that you say, yeah, that's me? The reason why this feels so real is because that's the science. This is research-based. And just for fun, drop in the comments, which one do you think I am from our interactions? What type of teacher do you think I naturally am? And again, if you want to be sure of your own, the link is in the description. Take the quiz real quick. You'll find out your exact archetype. All right, here we go. Let's close those gaps, okay? Producers, you're up first. Here we go. Let's talk about it. Remember, I told you, you're like a GPS. People can follow you when you're on, but once you're not around, they don't know how to get to the destination anymore. Your strength is information and clarity, but to make it stick, you've got to make it relatable and personable. And one of the ways that we can do that is with storytelling. And I know somebody immediately said, I do tell stories. Now, I'm not saying to tell stories. I'm saying to use the effective techniques of proper storytelling to make that information stick so that clients retain it. Since you like frameworks so much, let me give you a storytelling framework. Here's one that you can use. It's very simple. It is from tension to decision to outcome to principle. Start with the tension. What is uncomfortable or challenging about this situation? Then tell what the decision was based on feeling that tension. Then describe the outcome that followed that decision. And finally, just close with the principle of why it matters. Now, this can work with any story, whether it's a story about you, a story about something that happened to somebody else, a story about something that happened in the news, even a nonfiction story. I just say, if it's not true, let people know that it's not a true story, that is fiction. Let them know it's fake. But I can show you a quick example of how that story frame works. Remember the fireworks story I told you earlier? Tension. My kids were bored and they wanted to do something exciting. Decision. I knew that lighting fireworks would be something that is fun and exciting for them, so I decided to light the fireworks. 3, the outcome, they enjoyed it so much, but the moment ended very quickly. And 4, the principle, if your teaching is only built on hype and excitement, it won't last, it fades fast. Notice how the short story helped the lesson land? That's how you make frameworks stick. So here's your challenge. Embed a 60-second story into your next presentation somewhere when you're teaching your framework. And what's gonna happen is people are going to remember the principle long after you stop teaching. That's how you can make sure they reach the destination even without the GPS. All right, performers, you are up. And if you commented down below which style you think I am and you said performer, you are correct. If you haven't commented yet, I just gave you the answer. But yes, I am naturally a performer. High energy, funny. You decide whether or not I'm funny, but interjecting humor, storytelling, those types of things. So in full transparency, what would happen to me for years, I would light up the room. People would come after and take pictures. I would gain followers, get applause, standing ovations, but no new clients. People were inspired, but they either didn't want to take the next step or didn't even know what the next step was supposed to be. See, that was on me. I realized that I had to create frameworks that people could actually follow so that they could apply the information and actually see the transformation. That's the shift. Build systems that people could act on. And creating frameworks is not as hard as you may think. It just takes a little bit of thinking about your thinking. Here's how to start. 1, think about the outcome that you want for your clients. Then ask yourself the question, if it were me, how would I get there? Walk through the steps in your head, step by step. Try to get very tactical. This is where we talk about the metacognition, or the thinking about your thinking. What thoughts are going through your head as you're trying to go from beginning to desired goal outcome? My favorite way to do this is to ideate in the form of a voice note. I'll just put it out on a voice note on my phone or something like that, and then drop that into AI, let it transcribe it, and ask it to create a framework based on my brainstorm ramblings. And it doesn't matter if you prefer ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity or whatever it is that you decide to use. It's important to realize that AI is gonna get you about 80% of the way there. It's gonna create some things that you probably didn't want to be in there, but it's also gonna challenge your thinking a little bit, which is pretty cool as well. But you definitely don't want to just take whatever it gives you and pass it off as a framework. Read through it, see if it makes sense, make tweaks until you get it to the place where you actually want it. But please do not do this. Do not just go into your preferred AI system of choice and just say, create for me a framework around X. You are the expert. You've got to give it your information. Just list what you already do consistently. For example, maybe you specialize in helping churches strategically plan for growth. Well, in the past, you optimized your church for online viewing. What steps did you have to take? I'm sure you sat back and thought about the budget. Do we need to hire people? Do we need new equipment? How will the people be trained? Are we gonna use in-house people? Who's gonna install? How do we upload to YouTube? Like, all these things were things that you had to do. Go back through that process and list out step by step exactly what you had to do. That's the framework. Once you outline those steps, you can use the AI to help you frame it, polish it, maybe even name it. And suddenly you got a repeatable system that you can teach time and time again. Performers, listen to me. I'm talking to myself as well. When you create frameworks, you don't just inspire, you create transformation and build trust. Okay, so stay with me. 2 more fixes I'm gonna give you, and then a recap that you're gonna wanna screenshot. Peacemakers, where you at? Where you at? All right? So you wanna be kind, empathetic, supportive, and people love you for that. But here's the challenge. With no discomfort, there's no growth. And that can be tough because you don't want anybody to feel the tension. The simple fix here is to pair your encouragement with accountability. And this is just one example, but give people one single action step and a follow-up deadline. That could look like this. Maybe it's on a webinar and you tell them, this is the thing that I need you to do, and I need you to do it within the next 7 days. And I'm gonna check on you and make sure that you actually do it. From there, you can schedule in your CRM or just schedule an email to go out in 7 days to that person, asking them, hey, did you do the thing? Or hey, just checking in, following up, seeing if you did the thing. Or maybe on this live call inside of your community, you give everybody a challenge or an action step to do. And you say, on next week's live call, I'm starting off by reviewing and seeing who took action and how it went. That accountability piece is what moves your people from just feeling fuzzy to feeling fulfilled and transformed. And I get it. I know it's hard to call people out, but reframe your mind around this for a second. Think about it. If they don't take action, they won't see results. And you care about them way too much for them to just be in your presence or experiencing with you and to not get results. You care about them, you love them, you want them to do well, which means you need them to implement the things that you're teaching them. So if they don't, not only does it hurt you because they're not growing, but it also hurts them, and also it hurts future clients because your current clients are gonna walk away saying, yeah, I paid for it, I was in the program, but I didn't really learn much. I didn't really do any of the coursework. I didn't really get anything from it. So here's your move. Create one action step, set a deadline, and follow up. Hold their feet to the fire, not because you're harsh, but because you care. The good news is that's how you turn care into coaching and support into transformation. And finally, my professors, you've got all the knowledge. You are the expert of experts. You got valuable content and you want to get it all out of your head so others can experience it too. But here's the issue. The hardest way for people to learn and retain is through lecturing. Research shows that only 5% of people learn best through lecturing. So if you're talking at me, I might respect your knowledge, but I don't think that I can learn from you. The fix, and there are so many I could have gone with for this, but to keep it brief for today, I think the one fix that you can use is to teach it to me like I'm 5. I know you've got degrees and you learned and you got all this information and you want to show off and you want to tell everybody how much you know, but without making it simple, the brain literally will not process it. When the brain is overwhelmed, the prefrontal cortex literally slows down decision-making and information processing. So not only are they not even understanding and remembering what you're saying, but they can't even make the decision to take the next step with you or buy your offer. So your goal is to adjust the level of your language. Without losing the weight of your content, just make it easier to process. Here's how I like to do it. Before I go live like this and record a video or speak, or even sometimes before I do a reel or something like that, I will literally explain it to my 6-year-old daughter. Now I know I said explain it to me like I'm 5, but I don't have a 5-year-old, I have a 6-year-old. But I'll explain the concept to her and use analogies that she'd be able to understand and stories that she'd be able to relate with. And then I'll ask her to repeat back to me what the main idea is or what the concept is. And if she can't articulate it back to me, that means it wasn't clear. But that really helps me to get granular with my thinking and to articulate it in a way that people will be able to understand. If you don't have a 6-year-old nearby, don't go borrow somebody else's. That's another place where AI can come in. Drop your draft in your favorite AI software and you want to use it to change what's called the lexile level to a level 6 or 7, a grade 6 or 7. What you want to do is cut the jargon, make it palatable, and keep the essence of what you were saying. That one shift, simplifying it without watering it down, that turns depth into clarity and clarity into transformation. So to recap, based on your dominant style, here's the move that I want you to take. Screenshot this. Producers, wrap effective storytelling into your frameworks. Performers, just like me, create frameworks around the stories that you tell. Peacemakers, give them an action and hold them to it. And professors, just simplify it for me. Break it down in a way that a 5-year-old could understand. Do it this week and watch what happens. Your teaching leads to transformation, which leads to client trust, which then leads to traction, which ultimately leads to the treasure. So just to be very sure and very clear of what your expertpreneur teaching archetype actually is, take the free quiz in the description down below. It's super quick and it'll give you your strength, your blind spots, and your custom fix to improve client outcomes. And when you're ready, join me for the live Monetize Your Expertise Accelerator, where we'll build your stories, your framework, and your assignments so your teaching can do the selling. Look, AI can give people more information, but it cannot inspire transformation. That's your job. Make it happen. You've got this, and I've got you. See you soon.